Hey, it's showtime. It's 12 o'clock, and I have my good friend Rosa Montanero. Is that the way you pronounce your last name, right?
Mhm.
Awesome. And we are going to talk about Atlas. We're going to talk about your journey. We're going to talk about your amazing life that you've got going on and what you're ramping up towards being more with your your friends and your family, your grandson you just told me about. So this is going to be a really exciting conversation, and I'm so happy to have you here. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Joey. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Mhm.
You bet. I want you to just give us a little introduction on like who you are, what you're doing, and why we should be listening to your amazing advice.
Okay, so I mean, who I am, I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I just don't know how not to be an entrepreneur. So all my life, I've had some kind of business and found ways to make a living without a real actual job for decades. And then but part of it is coaching. So I've been trained since 1996.
Wow.
And yeah, I guess I'm an OG, they say. I had to look that up. But I'm trained in a lot of cool things back in the 90s. So the neurolinguistics, programming, clinical hypnosis, success coaching, thought field therapy, tapping, all kinds of cool things. And I took that was my hobby. I turned it into my profession. And I developed something called Mind Over Platter, which was weight management and the mind-body connection. I wrote a book on it, and I did a virtual program on it back in the early 2000s. But it was more of a struggle because everything you had to outsource. You didn't know how to do those things back then, and everybody was selling you the concept, but it wasn't necessarily generating revenue. And I basically burned out, frankly, and decided to take a real job for a little while. Figured for a couple of years. But I've been doing it for almost 18 years because I loved it in the career coaching space.
Nice.
So I put my business on the back burner. And then as I'm getting ready to retire, I put it back on the front burner. I never gave it up. I just automated it. And it's always been a little bit of a revenue stream. But now I want to bring it up to more of a revenue stream. And that's kind of where I've been over the last year. So just bumping along, trying to figure that out.
And is that when you decided to get into the online world? Is like bringing that that program back into the front burner?
Well, I actually did it in the online world in 2002. I actually got an award in 2004 for e-business executive of the year.
No way.
So I had Mind Over Platter was an online virtual program before Weight Watchers, before all those things went virtual. That's
Really?
one thing. I think about things way before maybe they're popular, and then I give up by the time they are.
Yeah.
Because it was fun, but it didn't generate the revenue, and it was a lot of work. So I always kept it. I turned it into more of a blog when I decided just to get a job, and then I started playing with it behind the scenes a few years ago, and did everything piece by piece through MailChimp and YouTube, and then I decided to invest in Kajabi in 2020 and just launch it and just relaunch it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you started way before even I did in the online world. I've been how long have you been an entrepreneur? Do you remember, or is it like a lifetime like me?
It's probably 40 years.
Yeah.
Easily.
So like it's as early as you can remember, right?
So I mean, I'm certainly had my own little paper route when I was in babysitting and all that stuff when you think about it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so so in 2002 you said you started online.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the dinosaur ages of online. I can only imagine what it was like to build, remember the pages in Dreamweavers and the front pages and there was no there was no WordPress, there was no Kajabis and even all that kind of stuff. So I can only imagine how difficult it was to even put up a quote unquote landing page back then. I don't even know when Dean Jackson, who is the pioneer and inventor of the landing page, created that, whether it was before or after that. But anyway, it still was difficult to do, and I can only imagine. So then tell us, how would you describe, like when you started bringing this back to, I guess, the online world with the Kajabis now and everything else, how would you describe your business? Well, first of all, how long have we known each other? Because you're brand new to my world, my universe, right?
Yeah.
We haven't known each other for a long time.
No, I want to say since sometime this year.
Early this year, right?
Yeah, early this year.
And how was your business like before we started working together? What was it like?
Oh, okay. So I have this massive program that I developed, and moved to Kajabi. So I was stressed out, like totally stressed out. Oh, quite overwhelmed. And not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Even though I've taken a lot of the courses, I've invested a lot of money in those courses, as you know.
Yeah.
The gurus are saying you start a membership and get out there and just do it. So I just felt like I'm spinning my wheels. I'm exhausted. I'm not making any progress. My numbers look terrible. There's no conversion. I'm not sure why this isn't working for me. And I'm not really loving the process, frankly. And I always tell my clients, if you better love the process, because that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
The process. So if you don't love the process, you're going to, the end result doesn't really make it that much fun. It's the anticipation to get there. So I wasn't loving this process. And then I started questioning because I wasn't making money, but I knew I wouldn't right away. But I couldn't wrap my head around, what does this system look like for me where I can see myself doing this? And then I realized I'm going part-time at my job, right? That I liked a lot. Why would I give myself this much more work when I could just work doing something else that I can end at the end of the day? And I didn't want to create something that was just going to turn out to be a lot more work in the long run, because the whole point was freedom, was to hang out with my grandson, to travel, to be a snowbird, to have a purpose and to make a difference in people's lives, and to still be the entrepreneur that I like being, if that makes any sense. So it was a lot of frustration, a lot of time. My husband kept saying, "You're working harder than ever. Are you sure you want to do this?" And I relaunched my book, and it did hit a bestseller. So I got that little, thing. But 3,000 people downloaded the book, but none of them converted, right? So I mean, I did all this work to get them go to this link and get these resources, and here's this, all that stuff. None of that. That was mind blowing to me. So then I thought, what way works for me? I've got to figure that out. And so when I started chatting with you, it was really, well, you gave some good advice on Kajabi. You asked me some questions. They were great questions because I had asked something about creating a system. And then I saw you make a comment about barely graduating, something about I almost graduated from high school or something.
Yeah.
And I said, is that true? Like, that just blew my mind. And then I looked you up on LinkedIn because I'm on LinkedIn a lot. And you had it on there too. And that just, like, you advertised it, and that just blew my mind. And I have a GED, and it's something I don't tell anybody. Like, I keep it to myself because I feel like people are going to judge me and not want to work with me. And we had some exchanges. I asked you about it, and you were so sweet and kind and like affirming, and told me like to just be who you are, and screw anyone who doesn't like that. And I was just like, wow, I got emotional reading it. So I appreciate that. So now you were on my radar.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so nice hearing this too, and I get emotional every time I hear that too, and it changes someone's life to actually step into who they are, and it's because the whole world is about pretending who you're not, and worrying about people judging you and all this other stuff. And I've been through that my entire life. And early on, as far as I can remember, it was like, screw this, I'm going to be who I am. And I'll tell you that. On a side note, maybe this will help anybody listening and yourself, is that I grew up in terms of, I grew into maturity about that one thing. And the first part about was, earlier on I said, screw it. If you don't like me, too bad. And I'm going to be who I am. And you're a goofball and an idiot if you don't like me, right? So I had this disrespect for people who were like, I don't agree with him or whatever. And they were off my radar, like, you're a goofball. But then I grew up, like, I turned like 35, 40 years old, whatever it was, and said, you know what, I'm still going to be like this, but I respect their decision to not like me or whoever that was. And that completely changed everything in terms of the business, because it was like, I get you. That's totally cool. If we're not aligned to work together, that's awesome. Right. Which is kind of what Atlas is all about, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
And so, like, we're going to dive right into this, but I want to, like, the overall thing. So you're frustrated, struggling, you weren't making conversions and all that stuff. Like, and so how is it different now for you?
Yeah. So, well, one of the things that's different now is I think I'm changing my model. I was so stuck on the membership model because I did all the work. to make it that way. And I put a lot of time in it. So what we talked about in Atlas was the concept of the dream clients and group coaching. And I thought, I've done years, I had 10 years of a private practice in this room. I know how many people don't show up for appointments and all that stuff. So I never wanted to go back into coaching. Everyone kept saying, you should just do that. And I'm like, I'll do it for my favorites. I always have my favorites over the years that I've kept. So then you kind of put two and two together in my brain. You mean my favorites are my dream clients? That's why I don't mind keeping them when I have a full-time job and do all these other things. And if there were a group, even 5 of them in the same space, they're going to enjoy each other's company. And if I'm doing something I'm naturally good at and I'm an expert in, I'm going to enjoy it. And it just like went, wow, I never thought of it that way. And then I had something going on, a webinar with a friend of mine. And instead of trying to pitch my membership, I just decided we're going to do a 6-week coaching program and we're going to call it this and who's in, and 8 people signed up. And I was like, holy moly, I was so surprised. So I made more money I did something, you would talk about gifting things. So I expanded the 6 weeks to 8 weeks. I gave them a couple extra weeks and they were so grateful. So I made more money in a short period of time without planning anything in advance other than my general outline, so it's totally, and I feel really excited about what else I can do. Like if that worked, then there's a lot of other cool things that will work. And maybe I'm too attached to the other model I was stuck in.
This is amazing. Congratulations on that. That is so awesome. And it was like, the transit, there was no preparation or anything you're saying. Like there was no major sales pages or funnels or email automation sequences or ads or anything like that.
No, what I did, well, because we did an affiliate with my friend, that was the whole reason I did the webinar, was I wanted my affiliate program set up in Kajabi. And I had paid someone to help me with it a while ago, frankly. I hope he's not in this group.
Yeah.
And I wanted my money's worth. I was like, you know what? I paid for this. It isn't done yet. I want it done. And that's the reason I asked my girlfriend to be the affiliate. And she is an influencer in her space. And I said to her, look, I don't have conversion. I don't even know if I'll make you any money. I just want this thing done. And I need a good person to partner with so that I get the full, the email sequences and all the advice on how to do this. And she said, of course I'd do this for you. I love doing, I love working with you. So that's kind of how, and then I said, I sound crazy and quirky, but I think I'm going to do a 6-week coaching program. And she's like, okay, whatever you want, you do your thing. So,
right.
So I threw her a little bit of money from the people that signed up that were through her. And I did create I had to create a shopping cart, right? So I did all that in Kajabi, but it was easy. It was really easy.
Kajabi is amazing for that.
Did everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this, what specifically made you realize, because all in frustration of getting to, in the old models of doing the business, what was the point that you realized that you needed to get some help to make the business grow?
Yeah. So it was when I saw the numbers where things weren't converting, and I found the whole process. I was dreading the process. I was dreading the thought of having to go back and retweak something and change something. And I knew that this isn't, and I thought this must not be the right format for me. Maybe there's a better format for me because I teach all the time and I get great numbers and it's easy. Like that stuff's easy. So I thought maybe there's something else I should be doing. And this method I chose isn't the right method. And so I guess it was just not seeing the conversion and thinking, I don't know how many times I could do this because I'm not liking this. I'm exhausted just by thinking about it. It tuckers me out just thinking about it.
I hear you. And what do you think the biggest mistake was? And what did you learn from that? And then coming into this area of what we're doing?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake, initially, when I started this years ago, the biggest mistake I made was how much money I spent thinking something was going to work. And that's why I'm so cautious now, frankly. I've made a lot of mistakes and I created a lot of debt. And I'm very transparent when I teach workshops about it. Hey, I know what doesn't work. So, but I never wanted to be the millionaire entrepreneur, right? I just wanted to replace an income. Frankly, I'm the person, if I could generate $1,000 a week doing something I enjoy and it's not occupying my whole life, I'm freaking happy. Like, I don't have a crazy lifestyle, so it's happy for me.
That's why we get along. That's why you're a dream client, because you don't have this big, I have to get this, this yacht or whatever. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not what our lifestyle is all about.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the mistakes too, is we're listening to someone who's telling you about how they made $10 million doing something. And then in my mind, I'm comparing myself. And then I keep up to say, Rosa, you never said you wanted $10 million. Like, what the heck would you do with $10 million? Who cares? And so that was one of the mistakes, was maybe hooking on to the wrong philosophy, not being true to myself, spending too much money without seeing a result. And then beating myself up, not being aware of who my dream client really is, and how that I could actually just use my superpower. That was thinking I had to do what they want me to do and just take who comes.
Would you say, was that one of your biggest problems before you joined Atlas?
I think,
or was there a different one?
I think my biggest problem, let me think about this, would be more around that I was trying to be who I thought I was supposed to be, maybe what I did before. I was trying to do well, that was one of my problems. I wasn't looking at who really am I adding value to and that I want to work with.
Okay.
And I didn't have, and I was doing the stuff they were saying, but it wasn't really working. And so I kept trying. I kept thinking, well, I'll just try harder, or I'll just do this. Maybe I need to do a big launch.
So it was more about the understanding who the dream client was, the avatar, or who you're going to serve. Is that what the big problem was before joining Atlas?
I think that's one of them. I think the three big problems, not understanding the concept of a dream client, not understanding who that person is, not really embracing that I could use my superpower and it could actually be easy, and that's okay.
Right.
So I was at the point where I was doing menu plans for people, and I hate doing that. And I was doing things I didn't want to do, and resenting if they didn't use them, and resenting the stuff that people asked me to do that I didn't like to do, but I did it, and they wouldn't do it. And then I was very frustrated about that. And then the third one is, there was a third one I had in my head, as far as the being attached to the membership idea, not being open-minded to the group coaching and all that.
And so that I want to touch on a little bit too, because what did you think about that whole being attached to the membership, or not doing coaching or group, whatever it was, before you joined Atlas? Like, what was it going on in your head?
Okay, so what's going on in my head is that if you're going to be successful, you need a membership site. That was, or content that people want to buy from you. So you have to be around a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
That was a big frustrating, but that's what I thought. And then the group coaching, I never considered group coaching because I've only done it in person. I've never done it on Zoom. Well, I should, for my business, for my job, I do it all the time, but I didn't think the two of that. One-on-one coaching I found was enjoyable, but I didn't want to build a business on it.
Why not?
Because you're always adding more people. There's a lot, the marketing side of it. You're always, and I found like people move their appointments around, or they cancel, and then you got to replace them. So from doing that, I found I didn't really want to go that route.
For me, I don't know if it's true for you, but I still do one very few of them, but it's not the main thing. But I remember when I started doing that, I'm pretty blessed, I think, or grateful that I don't have a stressful life. Like, I don't have this normal thing. It's not that I never get stressed, but it's pretty cool, right? And the only stress that I really had every month was the end of the month, waiting for the email to come to say, hi, it's Rosa, and I'm not going to continue on with the coaching and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so it would stress me out because I was doing the monthly payment thingy and all that. I'm like, geez, I just don't want to live like this anymore. And I asked myself, how can this be easier? How can I make this easier and still do the work that I'm supposed to do and I'm put on this planet to do? Yeah. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yes, it's true, because you do. Yeah, people do. They say, oh, sorry, I can't continue, or this life happens, right?
Sure,
My
yeah,
other job is career management and outplacement. People lose their jobs and things
yeah.
happen, so they can't continue. But it is stressful. I agree.
It was always in the back of my head, and I found that I wasn't truly present sometimes, which is
Mhm.
unfair to my clients, right? And it wasn't about, oh, I got to make money, I'm going to waste, what, I'm not going to get that money coming in. But at the same time, it was stressful to open up my emails, and I'm like, this is not the way to live
Yeah,
if I'm waiting for this cancellation email. Anyway,
yeah,
I just
sure.
wanted to bring that to the surface to see if that was true for you too. And I'm sure that
Mhm.
it's for a lot of coaches watching this right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the thing when I said I decided to do a day job, which the one I'm currently, the nonprofit working with now, that it's been 14 years since I joined them, and I remember that year calculating that all the reschedules, I had lost $10,000 in revenue that year. I,
wow.
I remember that. And that's why when I had the opportunity to teach and work in a different space, it was the same type of work, but different topic. I thought, well, and I used to say it all the time. I still say it when I do workshops and people say I want to start my own business. I go, it's so much easier to have a job because guess what? If I show up today, none of you are here, I still get
Yeah,
paid.
you still
For
get
me,
paid.
I don't get paid. They're going to
Right.
pay you whether you show up or not. So it's like actually kind of a nice feeling. So that was a big decision for me. I was like, I'm gonna try this out for a few years, let the economy bounce back. We went into a recession, so I was really glad that I chose that. But yeah, it does add up really fast, and then takes your mind away. And then if you have to talk to them about it, that gets awkward. Because I like to be nice all the time, and I've had a couple times where I've said, we've rescheduled a few times. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to still charge for these sessions if you don't give so much
Oh my
notice.
gosh,
They're
yeah.
getting mad.
Yeah, yeah. Because you've carved out that time for that person, and it's taking money away from you from somebody else to schedule.
You can't
Yeah,
reschedule it, right? Now, what I love about what we're doing now is I do mine in Kajabi. That's recorded. You're paid for the series. You can catch up, and it's not an issue. It's not a discussion. It's effortless. Frankly, I really appreciated that.
that is awesome. So then that leads me into the question of like, what were you worried about when you joined Atlas?
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing I worry about, and it's not just Atlas, it would be a program like something that I would be investing in, and I know is could help my business to be successful, is can I really implement this?
Right,
Uh,
right.
is there really, first of all, like when we started all those years ago in the internet marketing space, the stuff they would tell you to do, I didn't have the skills to do. Like, oh yeah, that would work, but I don't know how to do that.
Gotcha.
So part of it is this something I can do? And then the second part is, will I actually do it? Do I have the time to do it? Is it something I'm going to like doing? So implementation's a big one. What would be the other? I mean, that was my big worry was, would it be something realistic for me? Is it going to
Yeah,
be something I don't particularly want to do, but it makes sense? You make money if you do it, or you'd have a good life if you do it, but it's just not. Like there's some things that aren't. I told you that. Like
for sure.
I've told you, like I'm not one that wants to have really long conversations with people on, text messaging and IMing and all that. So that has changed my, but at the same time, I was coming from a mindset of you've got to get thousands of people. Like, how do you maintain that? And
Right.
this was much more. My brain once it started wrapping around it about, if I focused on 20 amazing people and adjusted my rates, we could have meaningful conversations. I won't be sitting on my phone all day on Facebook.
Exactly.
You know?
That's the shift, right? Is like, how do I get the 100 dream clients or whatever it is?
Mhm.
And you're not having 100 conversations all day long and maintaining those relationships and just building it and increasing your prices, because now dream clients are coming to you for your superpowers and not just a quote unquote marketing course or something that's going to show them from this to that. And you're not there part of it, but it's a different vibe, right? It's a completely different approach to what most people are doing in the coaching, right?
It is.
And so when did you realize that Atlas was worth it for you?
Oh, I noticed that on day one.
Really?
Yeah, because you did the whole day. Remember, we did like a whole
Oh, right. You're okay.
immersion
So there was
day.
two versions of it because I remember
Yeah,
I did a 4-week version first, and then so yeah, so that makes more sense to you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
because okay, keep going.
yeah. I mean, I think the breakout is probably better because we have time to implement, and I like that. But I loved, I was at a space where I needed just to jump in my head to jump into something and wrap around it. So when I saw that outline and how, I mean, the numbers always scare me. You know that I'm getting better about charging. I don't charge
Sure.
as much as I should. Um, but the logic made sense. And I thought, wow, if I could really do this, I could really work with my favorite kind of person and do something that's so easy for me, that would be like heaven on earth. Like I would love that. So that intrigues me. But I'm the kind of person, entrepreneurs are more like, hey, how do you do that? Instead of the
Right.
ones that would say, you can't do that. Because I've said it to a couple of my friends and they'll say, I don't know if you could really do that. And I'm like, shut up, stop it.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
sometimes it's too simple for us. We look at it and go, it can't be that easy. It just can't be. And I remember even struggling with that too. Years ago, one of my coaches said, why don't you just do the stuff that you're really great at? And that will be your coaching thing. I'm like, yeah, but my problem was like, everybody knows how to do that because it's part of our superpower. Like we just wake up and we do it. Or like, what's so hard about this? But we don't realize that there's other people struggling to do the thing that we are so great at doing that will help them advance their lives. And if you just marry those two, now you've got this amazing coaching business that you don't even have to worry about a lot of content. It's more about the guidance and the knowledge and the experience and opinions that we have to guide our dream client through the journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about it yesterday, Joey, when I teach workshops. We're still on Zoom, and we had a guest speaker in the next workshop. And he's a friend of mine, so I thought intuitively, I'm going to pop in and say hi to him, and as he gets ready to teach this workshop. Well, it's so funny because he didn't have it on his calendar. So here I am. There's 50 people on this call, and the admin is saying he's not here. I go, hey, let him in. It's 5 after. I'll get us started. Don't worry about it. Let me read what he was going to talk about. Let me see if I have anything related to it. And she's like, well, I'll go see if I could find him. And 20 minutes later, he popped on. But I was like having a blast. Like, okay, tell me where you're from. What do you want to take away from today? And they started putting things in the chat, and I started talking about it. And he popped in, and he's like, Rosa, I want to sit in on this class. Whatever you're doing, that sounds better than what I'm about to do.
That is amazing.
And I realized, and then she even said the admin when we were done, she said, Rosa, you are amazing. I'm like, I'm just having fun. Like, it's not hard to answer some of those questions. But then I realized this is exactly what Joey's talking about. This was actually exhilarating for me. And I didn't even know we were going to be doing this.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. I love hearing that. Yeah. So tell us about 2 or 3 of your aha moments from Atlas. I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But like, what were the main 2 or 3s?
The main ones for Atlas were, what I know, and I'm gonna peek at my notes because I did jot down some ideas. I have a lot, so I don't want to ramble too much.
Oh yeah, let us know.
I'll see if I can really quickly peek at my notes while I say this to you. So the one thing I have to say was a huge aha for me is I realized that I don't have to pick and choose, that I don't have to necessarily just choose between what I've been doing as my job as a career coach, and I've loved a lot of it. Really, I was just wanting my time back, right? I didn't want to do all the other side stuff they were having me do. I just wanted my time back. And when I did this cohort, we were talking about healthy lifestyle, which is my wellness background. But most of them, because of my girlfriend and me doing a webinar, they were career coaches, and they were people in job transition. And quite a few of them have met me over the years in my other world. And so I realized that I was stressing myself out because I thought I had to pick one or the other. That's really what was bugging me in my brain is what am I supposed to be doing? How do I pick one or the other? And I
Uh,
realized the big aha was I don't have to choose. I can actually blend these two things. I don't actually have to know exactly how it's going to come together, but it's working. And they didn't want it to end. So that was cool. So that was one that I can really create something unique and blend a number of things I've done. The other one was the big aha was when we actually talked about our superpowers, and how it doesn't have to feel like work. And I always said I had a big belief that said you have to work hard. I mean, I was raised poor.
yeah, I remember that email. That was an early email you and I had in exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you have to work. I believed you have to work hard in order to be successful. And I remember, I mean, now I'm very introspective, so I'm all into your beliefs and all that stuff, as you know. And I dug really deep with this. But I remember one of my aunts saying to me, and her and her husband, my uncle, they made a lot of money and they were very successful. And I was maybe 19 years old visiting them, and I was struggling, and I always worked hard. I had multiple jobs.
Right.
And I remember her saying, it feels better when you do it on your own. So just work hard and it'll feel better. It feels better when you do it on your own. And I was thinking, I always believed that. And then I thought to myself, I think I've had that belief in my brain as it's better if you struggle through it on your own. I think maybe that made her feel better about the circumstances that we were in, to not make us feel that was a good advice, but maybe it was. But so not having to struggle, not having to work so hard that it's okay. I want to be overly prepared. So going in and having a general idea what we're going to talk about and going with what they want to do was really a little scary, but really, really good. I mean, I had a general outline, but I let them tell me what they wanted. And then
Amazing.
I tweaked the next week based on that. I've never done that. Like that's a big aha that would work.
Right.
Direct you.
Right. And how did that feel?
It was very freeing, because even when I was on vacation, like you said, even when you go on vacation, you still can take an hour or two to go talk to your people you love talking to.
If you really had to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did, and it was fun, and I still enjoyed it. And then the other aha I had, which I did share with you too, was when you always say, if you could be on an island with somebody, who would you be on with? It's like your best friend. And I was thinking, I don't think I'd want to be on the island with a lot of my friends. I probably want to be on the island with my daughter, and she's a lot of fun. And, I was thinking about, I've changed, my dream client has changed, and I was still staying attached maybe to who people want me to be instead of who I am.
That's powerful what you just said. And I hope everybody listening to this really attaches to that, to understand what that means.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Yeah.
To
So I'm always aware of what other people want, and I want to give them what they want. I want their approval. And but at the same time, Rosa from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm a grandmother now, right? I'm an empty nester. What I want in life is different. And I realized what I want, what makes me happy has changed. And even my superpower has evolved and changed. And the people I want to spend my time with, I kept saying to myself, my clients have changed, thinking I need to adapt to their change, when in fact, my dream clients changed. That's what's happened. Like, if they want someone to tell them what to eat, they need to go to Weight Watchers, right? I don't want to be a Weight Watchers.
Right. And that's an important realization for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. And I even realized I don't really want to do diet stuff anymore. Like, that was hard, because I wrote a book on it, and I do all this stuff around weight management. And to say, I don't know if I really, and you said that a lot, like, we stay attached to something just because we did it a long time ago and we don't let go. And I realized, yeah, I've changed, and I want to be, I'm going to be me, who I am now. And that's who people like, and and I'm going to share one more thing that was like an aha thing that, based on what you've been telling us, is my mentor said to me last week. We finally got together for coffee, and he's so wise, and he's been a friend of mine for years and years. And he said to me, I was telling him all about this, and he's applauding it. He's like, yes, you could do this. I know you can. There's definitely an intersection. I mean, he's an entrepreneur, and he's 20 years older than me, and he's writing poetry and doing all kinds of cool things. Here's what he said, and it was what I realized is one of my superpowers, because I'm very confident in my day job, and I didn't have the confidence in my business. And I kept saying, why don't I have that same confidence? And he nailed it. And he said to me, you know what I love about you? Because you're so sweet and you're so compassionate and kind, but you're assertive as hell. Like you are so direct, but you're gentle. Like you can hold eye contact with me to the point where it's intimidating, but you're really sweet. Like who the heck is like that? And then I thought, that's my superpower. That's why I'm confident in my other thing. Because I just say, oh, I care about you, but you need to do this. Like I'm not going to mess around right now. And that's how I've changed. Like the sweet Rosa who wants everyone to like her also is a bit more direct and needs to learn how to repel some people and be okay with it.
But you've also learned, I would guess from that conversation that you just said, is how to communicate that and still be the sweet Rosa, right?
Yeah.
Is learning how to coach even better with the people that you truly want to serve inside of the dream client. Is that right? So you can be who you are. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the very next day I went live on my Coffee with Coach Rosa, and I said something. This is just in our group, right, Joey? Or is this all over Facebook?
This is all over Facebook and LinkedIn everywhere.
Okay, good. So I said something about being direct, and I got a number of messages saying, are you okay? You seemed a little emotional. And I was like, no, I'm passionate. This is me.
I love it. I love it. It is so cool. And we talk about this all the time, right? Inside of Atlas, inside of the memberships and all this, we talk about that. I tell you guys all the time, I just show up the way that I show up. And if you like it, that's cool. If you don't, no worries about it. And then even on the other level, I guess the meta level of what we do inside of Atlas is the fact that because you have dream clients, and this is what I've discovered by doing this myself, is by having those dream clients, is that totally open communicate, not communication, but it's the kimono is truly, the kimono is off. It's not even open, it's off. Like you're standing there and like, here's exactly how this works. Here's exactly what I'm doing. Here's how I screwed this up. Here's what I'm thinking. There's no, at least from on my side, it's, should I tell them this or not? No, whatever. And there's no filter anymore. Not that there ever was, and maybe there was. Maybe there's like a 10% filter there of like, I don't know, maybe I won't say that thingy because I show up and here's who I am, take it or leave it. But now it's even like there's 100%, like 100%, and that to me feels like this is an awesome dream business to have. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I love that you did that. You already said, okay, I'm pulling the curtain away. Here's what happened. And as you were saying it, I was like, that is what happened. I did reach out to him and I did ask him a question. And like all the things that you showed us that you do is 100% transparent. I love that. There's no hidden anything. Yeah. And I got to say the other part I love too is I've been told a lot of times, stop giving so much away. Like you're on here giving advice all the time. You should say what, not how. How will you even make money if you do this? A lot of people say that to me a lot, and that was hard because I like to teach people how to do something. It's intuitive, and then you were saying the same thing, like, "Hey, let's help people. Let's use our gifts to help people, and don't need to hold back something as a secret, And I love that about you. I love that about Atlas. I love that about the people in Atlas. Everybody shares with each other, and it just feels like I've always felt like I meant to be a hippie living in a commune somewhere. Yeah. I'm like, can't we all just get along and kind of coexist? So that it's like the business form of that for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like we feel sometimes as aliens, and we are now in this group, in this tribe. Yeah. But it's good to be the alien because we meet other aliens that are like us. They're like, hey, this is our world, this is our tribe, and this is the way we think. Yeah. And it's an amazing tribe. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for all the love and support that you give others, because I know you're always in there. You're always sharing. You're so nice and sharing, and it's so amazing. So let me ask you this one, because people listening to this, obviously this is a promotion or a little tag for Atlas, hopefully that they will take this opportunity to get into Atlas as well in their, whenever that's ready, right for them. But as well as everybody else listening to this, nothing is 100% perfect. And
Mhm.
so what were the things in Atlas that was hard for you, challenging stuff that you were like, wow, this is really tough? And how did you get through those? Like, what was the mindset that helped you get through some of those things?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think, well, what was tough for me was defining the dream client. Um, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I'm still cultivating it. I know the general makeup of it, of them.
Right.
And really articulating my superpower, and what value I can deliver that they really want and need, like that. So that breakdown margin for me was probably more wrapping my head around it, because I really never thought about it that way, honestly. I just, here's what I do, here's who buys it. I don't know. I never really had a strategy like that. So I thought that was for me, but I'm in an introspective phase of my life. I called it my identity crisis. So it was quite timely for me to be asking myself these questions. The mindset that I got through it was, I think, well, you helped me at times, because I said to you, and my friends, my friends from, there's a group of us. There's my M1 and M2 and K, and we all chit chat, and we
Oh,
would
nice.
help each
That's
other.
so cool.
We do chit chat
Yeah.
and help each other. Like, okay, look at it this way, or I relate to that. Even knowing people relate to it, that helps. So my mind, and you said something about looking at this in a way that someone's looking to you for guidance rather than you being responsible for them, and because that's another thing I shared, is I didn't want people to be overly dependent on me. And I think I was a little worried this was going to be one of those things where they need you to answer the questions, and that was an easy fix when you said think of it as the guide. They're just looking to you. I'm trying to think what else might have been something for me to wrap my head around. Well, I guess the other part for me that I'm still figuring out is serving and adding value in different ways that are out of my typical, comfort. Like mine would be in a teaching style.
Okay.
But maybe if I'm in a group and interacting, to know how I can serve others and do that. And that was probably something else that I found my brain didn't have an exact answer. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And so why those are like common challenges where, and you said at the beginning where one of the things worrying about going into Atlas was, or any program, but specifically this one was, is this going to work? And can I do the work? Am I going to do the work? And then now these challenges that you're bringing up are pretty normal across the board, because as you found out, almost everybody has the same challenges, right? With a dream client or getting deeper into what to offer and this and that. So why didn't you give up like 85% of the online world does?
Yeah. That's so, I know I always say, how come I just can't be happy and content in a job? what's my issue? What is that? And it's the entrepreneur in me loves the idea of, I love helping people, right? I love it. I love having a platform to share something that I could be of service, and I enjoy doing. And I know that that it doesn't have to be, a Tony Robbins level of success. That that I just have to find my group that resonates with me. So I really believe it. I guess why I didn't give up is I really believe that if this is on my heart, it's on my heart for a reason. I'm very spiritual, so I feel like, God gives us gifts and we're supposed to make the world a better place with these gifts. And so I keep thinking, if I have a desire to do it, then there's obviously a path to do it. And that's one of the reasons I didn't give up. I don't give up. And I found, I keep saying to myself, there are a lot of other people who've done this and are making a difference in someone's life, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do this and somebody really could have benefited from it that would have not interacted. Yeah, there's Tony Robbins out there. There's Joey. There's Brendan. There's all these people. But what if they weren't going to attend one of those programs? What if they weren't going to? It was yours that they would maybe resonate with, because you're the mother, the grandmother. You've been divorced. You've had real life, trauma challenges.
Yeah.
What if you're the one they would rather have had conversations with, and you didn't? Like that's kind of what motivates me too.
I love that. I love that burning desire, and you understand that purpose, and you're attached to that, and your head and your heart know what that purpose is now. Because for me, there was a point where my heart and my head were fighting, and doing the wrong things. I knew what my purpose was, but I was actively fighting it. And I'm glad that you're now on that path, that you understand what it is, and both your heart and your head are in it, which is so amazing. So what would you say, first of all, before I ask you this question, where can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you and just maybe hang out with you, your Facebook page or something like that? Where can we reach you?
Okay, so Facebook page, I want to say is, I should have wrote this one down. It's Virtual Coach Rosa. So Virtual Coach Rosa is my Facebook page. And you can find me on Rosa Smith Montanaro on Facebook. LinkedIn is Coach Rosa. So I have just Rosa Smith Montanaro on LinkedIn. Coach Rosa is my customized. My website is Mind Over Platter, and you can certainly contact me through that.
Awesome. Amazing. So what would you say to somebody who is contemplating on going through an experience like this coaching with Atlas? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So I would say, I think it's great to do it. And they have to make sure they're carving out the time. I really think that it's not a program you just, listen to, like pop in a CD and listen to it. And then, as you're driving, it's experiential, right? So we're learning something, and then we're doing something, and we're sharing what we do with each other, and we're learning from each other. So I think making time to actually do the work, that's really, really important. I would say do it, but make sure you're making time to do it, because it's not something to just watch. Because I didn't think I would execute a cohort within a couple of weeks of starting Atlas. I didn't expect.
Right, but you did, right?
I got motivated because other people were doing it, and when you get to know each other and you see they're saying, "Hey, I'm going to try this," and you're saying, "Hey, just do it." Well, you said, if no one shows up, big deal. You didn't lose anything. And I'm like, wait a minute, no one shows up. That means you're a failure, but it doesn't anymore, right? Like Joey just changed the rules in my head.
Yeah.
Like, if no one shows up, okay, no big deal. Like,
well, it's more about if nobody really buys it at the offer level, right? Because that's where people get this kind of in their head, where they build this entire system and webinars and ads and all this kind of stuff, and they throw traffic at it, and then nobody shows up, or nobody shows up to the webinar and nobody buys. They're all like, that failed. Whereas what we're doing is kind of breaking that all apart.
Yeah.
Right. And saying, okay, here's what I'm going to go do. And here's the offer. And let's say, and there's nothing else built at that point. Yeah. And then nobody takes the offer. You're like, well, you didn't really lose anything. You wrote, you spent an hour writing a document, right?
Yeah. No, I love it, because I've been playing with that, and it's been working. I've been sending out little messages. Hey, what do you think about this? And someone's like, I love that. I want to do that. When can I find out about it? And I'm like, I wouldn't have done that without Atlas. So I think really being present, and like you said, being there is the most important advice. I would say do it and be present, and engage, because there's a lot of wonderful people. And the other part, I was thinking when you said that, when you do it the other way, where we built everything and did it all, and now nobody's interested, that crushes you. Where if you're playing with ideas and you throw it out there in an email, or you test it out there and you get a response, or you don't get a response, you didn't invest a lot of time. It's actually not. In my mind, I was operating from a belief that you've committed yourself, when you haven't. You're not committing yourself, and you're flexible. You're moving. You're actually adapting this as you go, and you're transparent about it. So,
I love that. Thank you, Rosa. It's been such a pleasure. I love talking to you. Thank you for being in my tribe. Thank you for being a friend. I consider you a friend now, not just a student or member.
We're kumbatis now. We're kumbatis.
We are, for sure. There you go. It's even more than that, right? So as we're from, you're part of Sicily as well, or not?
My father's from Sicily. My mother's from Naples. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we are. So there
Yes.
we go. We're just more bonded. I love this.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing all of your stories
Thank
with
you.
us and taking up a big portion of your Friday. I know you want to spend more time with your grandson a little bit later today, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, we're gonna play. I'm gonna play today.
Awesome. Have an awesome,
Thank
awesome time
you.
with your grandson. And have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Joey. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.